Alright, just making a quick design review of this Bluetti EB55. So right off the bat, we can see that Bluetti actually updated their design language with this model. And it's shared with the Bluetti AC300 and the AC500, right? So it's got this more kind of squared off utilitarian design. Whereas the model that this thing replaced was the AC50 and the AC50S, which shared its design with the AC200 and the AC200P, right? So those models kind of had, they almost had a softer, more friendly look to them, you know, with the rounded corners and kind of that that kind of detailing that went around the edges of the unit. You know, on the AC50S it was like silicone. I'm not sure if it was silicone on the AC200, but you know, it was still like a contrasting color or material, right? And I think just something about those units made them a little bit almost more approachable, and something that kind of fit in with the design. You know, it kind of fit in more with inside of your house, right? With these new models, that, like I said, they're a little bit more utilitarian and squared off, and you know, like, to me, it's like these are good for if you had it like in your garage or in your basement or something, right? They kind of fit that bill a little bit better than something you'd have like in your living room or in your living space, right? All right, so let's just talk about the design features now. This design actually passes one of my main tests, and that's the fact that this thing has all of the ports, you know, input and output ports on the front, all on the same side, right? So I think this is just kind of one of the best overall designs you can have. I don't know why so many companies get this wrong, but just put everything on the front, you know, because then you can kind of tuck this thing away. You can tuck it up against the wall, and you know, you can always get to everything you need, right? Now the elephant in the room is obviously this this display that Bluetti has chosen to use for this. I mean, everybody knows this is not good. You know, so I'm not going to really even talk about it too much. It is high contrast though, so it is easy to read, or you know, the limited information it does display is easy to read. And then you know, another thing I'm not quite a big fan of is this like marine style cap they have on the car outlet. I think, you know, basically they could have really improved the way this unit looked overall. It made it just look a little bit more finished, a little bit more polished if it just had like a kind of a nondescript, you know, smooth, flat, kind of more flush-fitting cover for that plug. Now, an interesting thing here with the inverter, you know, when you first look at this, you might think it looks almost kind of funny with the way they have the spacing on this. But you know, I'm not exactly sure if it is deliberate or if it's just something to do with the layout of the electronics inside. But it is kind of nice that, think about it, if you have like a big adapter block, you know, like a big wall plug, you're still going to be able to power this thing on and off, right? You can still get to that switch. It's not going to block it, right? So I think that could be, you know, an accidental good thing. But yeah, you know, it does look kind of weird that, you know, the spacing on that, like there's so much space to the side of it. So aesthetically, it's not, you know, it's not the best, but I think I'll give that a passing grade just because of the function, and you're not going to have an issue blocking the switch, right? Now while I'm pressing these buttons, it kind of reminds me of kind of I would say a negative with this unit, is that there's no dedicated like display button, right? So as you saw, like basically if the screen's off, you can press any of these buttons, right? And it won't actually change the status of those ports until the screen is on. If the screen is on and then you press it, you can see this is on right now, then it'll go off, right? But when the screen's off, these buttons just basically wake the screen up. So I would still prefer to have a dedicated display button, just because, you know, if you accidentally hit it twice or something like that, just trying to get the display to come on, you could actually turn it off, right? Now another thing, while we're at the front here, you can actually see that they do have some pretty decent graining on the plastic here, so that's going to help prevent some of those micro scratches and stuff like that. It's still not like you know, a real heavy graining. It's not something like what Jackery uses, which is really nice. I mean, it's very hard. If you have a Jackery, you know, it's very hard to actually scratch those things. So, but yeah, it's still better than some other units I've seen that have like smooth plastic around the, especially around the AC ports and the USB ports. You know, just even throwing like a USB cable and stuff into it like that can actually scratch some of those units. So still, that's actually pretty good. Now, another thing I'm not too crazy about is this handle. I mean, I do like that they have a flat top, and so function-wise, it's pretty good. But just as far as like, it's pretty short, so it's not like, it's kind of hard to get your hand into it. And you know, it's kind of weird. They have this little indentation that kind of helps you pull it out, but there's not really much there. It's pretty difficult. And what's funny, they actually have some rubber on the back side of this, kind of like where you would never put your hand, right? Like you would think it would either be rubber on the top here or rubber on the bottom, so when you're lifting it, you'd get a better grip, but it's actually on the back side, which I really don't understand what purpose that serves. And then just finally, like, you know, it does lock into place, but it just doesn't have the greatest feeling when it does lock in. So that could be better. Although I suppose, I think from what I've heard, the little bit bigger brother to this, the EB70, it doesn't lock in at all. So I think I guess I shouldn't complain too much. And then lastly, this unit does have a light on the back, which is my preferred setup. Because, you know, if you're in a low light situation or a room without any light, actually, the last thing you actually want is the light on the front, because it's just going to blind you when you're trying to use the unit, right? So this unit does have a light on the back, and it does have two different brightness settings. The one thing I would say, I don't quite understand why they made this button so small to turn it on. On the AC50 and the AC50S, it was like 2 or 3 times the size. So I don't know what happened there. But so not perfect, but almost perfect. So yeah, that's the design review of the Bluetti EB55. Hopefully you found this interesting or helpful, and yeah, thanks for watching.